Good morning once more.
Good morning, Zakina.
So, Phemelo, I mean, we've been feeling it. We've been talking about it here in studios. So, we only just into spring.
Yes.
And already the mercury is hitting all sorts of highs. But let's just start by explaining what is a heat wave.
So a heat wave, we're looking at persistently high temperatures. But the South African Weather Service, because we take from them, how they define it is looking at the threshold for it. So if the maximum temperature at a particular town, so taking for example Johannesburg, meets or exceeds by 5 degrees Celsius. So let's say our maximum temperature for the hottest month is 28 in Johannesburg, and then it meets that temperature for 5 degrees, but for 3 days, then it becomes a heat wave.
So let's talk about what's happening in certain parts of the country right now. Which parts of the country are or is experiencing a heat wave at this given point?
So it's Gauteng is included. We're looking at the central and eastern parts of the northwest, the southwestern bushveld of Limpopo, and then the highveld of Mpumalanga and the northern part of the Free State. That region that I've highlighted there is until, well, including today, but then the northern part of the Free State and then that part of the northwest still continuing until Thursday. So still, unfortunately for them, still experiencing those hot conditions.
So it begs the question whether this is just something temporary that will pass, because as I said, we are only just into spring. And if we're looking at these types of temperatures, is there anything being forecast at this point for the type of summer that we're in for?
It will be a hot one, but it's also indicating above normal rainfall. So I think that's the good thing, that we'll at least get alleviation over our summer rainfall areas in terms of, you know, when it rains, it cools off, but now we're just having heat and no rainfall.
So we saw in Europe, you know, record temperatures this past summer for them in the Northern Hemisphere. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, how hot can it possibly get, or is that an unfair question at this point?
It's unfair at the moment because it all goes with the systems of, well, for us, we look at about a week in terms of your weather and your direct impact. So we usually see it coming a week in advance. We start seeing temperatures are unfavorably hot in certain regions. But I mean, heat waves, we will get. That one is a given, that going into later spring and summer, we'll definitely get our heat waves, maybe even hotter than what we're experiencing now. I don't think we can take it off the cards.
And then, of course, climate change, because we hear a lot about climate change and the impact that it has on our Earth and, of course, the sort of weather patterns that we are witnessing at the moment. So let's talk about that, the impact of that, and what can we do, to basically protect ourselves from the heat one, but to make it better going forward overall.
I think it's also a matter of what the effect of climate change, how we're seeing it is we're getting severe weather has always been there, but now the frequency of it is what's worrisome. We're getting more of it, rather more frequently, and it's more severe. So for us, I mean, we've heard the argument about fossil fuels. Try get your government to use less, but for a person on the ground, we don't understand. I mean, if I'm cold, I'm cold. I'm going to make fire. We're not supposed to, but you're supposed to try limit your greenhouse emissions. But it's difficult, Sakina, for the person on the ground living at a place where they can't use solar or things like that.
Yeah, especially, you know, in third world countries, how do you say to people that they need to be thinking sustainably? And of course you do, but it's difficult, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If I need to be warm, I'm going to be warm. I'll burn whatever I need to in order to be warm. But of course, you know, looking at Gauteng, for example, and the regions that you've just mentioned, what are the highs that we're looking at in the foreseeable future?
So for us today, we're hitting 35. So it's going to, yay, yeah.
No, yay.
I know.
We've been melting.
We've been melting. So we've got 35, Lepalale's got 39. Musina is sitting at 38, Mahikeng at 37. So it's a scorcher. Today is a scorcher, but at least for us, tomorrow we'll see temperatures dropping slightly. I think it's about 33 for us here, and then over the northern parts of Gauteng as well. So it will get better for us, but unfortunately, the northwest and the northern parts of the Free State still sitting in the situation until Thursday.
And I think some nice advice here in terms of what to do.
Yeah, and then I actually have more of that. that was just a quick summary. If I can get them up. Yeah, so we're talking about staying indoors when it's this hot, you know. I think we well ventilated if you can. For us, I think we can manage because there's air conditioning at work. But if you're going to work outside, please wear protective headgear, drinking plenty of liquids. We always tell people, when we say plenty of liquids, it's like, you know, we cannot leave here, you and I, and go have a mimosa. No alcohol, please, because that just increases, I mean, it increases your possibility of suffering a heat stroke, you know. People will be like, no, it's okay, I'm gonna cool off with a beer. Wrong decision you can make, you know. And then keeping our children indoors as much as we can between the hour of 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock. We expect it usually does cool down slightly towards the late afternoon. And then our elderly and our infants, extra care for them during this time. They are more vulnerable to dehydration.
So you heard it, have water,
Yes,
you know,
water.
leave the alcoholic beverages.
Yes.
Leanna's saying something.
I was planning on leaving here and going swimming my pool and drinking. What did you say?
A mimosa.
Mimosas. A mimosa. Where did you come with that? Anyway, good advice. Sorry, I am listening. I'm taking notes.
As you heard, me, I have nothing to say to that part of the conversation. I don't even know what a mimosa is. But apparently mimosas are not a thing when it is this hot or any type of alcoholic beverage. Guys, have some water.
Have water.